DJ on the beat, so it's a bang.
Man, I don't know why he told.
The courtroom was silent. The air was thick with tension. Cameras were rolling, and the world was watching as Lil Durk stood before the judge, tears streaming down his face. Then, without warning, he broke down, uttering words that would shake the hip-hop world to its core. I did it. It wasn't just a legal hearing anymore. It was a moment of raw, unfiltered truth. This is the story of how one of hip-hop's most respected voices admitted to killing King Von in front of the entire world. The shocking revelation. How did it happen? It started like any other day in court. Lil Durk had been scheduled to appear for a routine hearing related to an ongoing federal investigation into drug trafficking allegations involving associates from both sides of the Chicago rap scene. He arrived quietly, dressed in all black, his expression unreadable. The room was packed, not just with lawyers and court officials, but with journalists, fans, and curious onlookers who had no idea what was about to unfold. Then came the moment that changed everything. Under questioning, prosecutors asked Lil Durk about his knowledge of a 2022 incident where King Von, then one of the fastest rising names in rap, was fatally shot during a street altercation. For months, rumors had swirled about who was responsible, with many.
Do you believe that gunner told?
Man, I don't sit up and play games, man. That man told. You should have went in there and kept your mouth closed.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I thought you were trying to reverse it. I'm like,
hell no. If you a rat, you a rat. And if you rewind this clip a little bit, I looked into the camera and I told you, if you a rat, I fucking hate you. Cause I love Thug.
Pointing fingers at various figures within the Chicago drill scene. But now, here he was, Lil Durk, on the stand under oath, and suddenly the silence was broken. I was there, he said, his voice cracking. I saw it happen. I didn't pull the trigger, but I was part of it. The room froze. A gasp echoed through the gallery. The judge slammed the gavel. Security rushed in, and outside the courthouse, news outlets picked up the story in seconds. Within minutes, the footage had gone viral. The world watched in stunned silence, as one of hip-hop's most influential artists admitted to being involved in the death of another. But why now? Sources close to the case say that this confession was not spontaneous. Prosecutors had been building their case against Lil Durk for months, and they likely knew about his potential involvement. What made this moment so explosive was the emotional weight behind it. Lil Durk didn't just admit guilt, he broke down in front of everyone. He wept openly, his body shaking as he spoke. It wasn't a calculated move. It was raw, real, and deeply personal. In a later interview with a close friend who shared the conversation online, Lil Durk reflected on that moment. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be the one to bring it out, but
It's the code of the streets. So it's either you follow the code of the streets or you a civilian. It go either way. That's it.
Look, I feel like a lot of this.
Because if you a rat, you're going to be alienated no matter what.
I couldn't live with myself if I stayed quiet. I owe it to King. I owe it to my family. I owe it to the truth. His words reveal a man who was forced to confront his past, even if it meant losing everything he'd built. And yet, the question remains, was this a full admission of guilt, or was it something more strategic? Some speculate that Lil Durk's confession was part of a plea deal. Others believe he was pressured by prosecutors to testify in exchange for lighter sentencing or immunity. But regardless of the reason, the impact was immediate and irreversible. The legal implications. What does this mean for Lil Durk? Now that the truth has been spoken, the legal consequences are beginning to take shape. By admitting to being present during the incident, Lil Durk may have opened himself up to new charges. While he claims he didn't fire the shot that killed King Von, his presence, and potentially his role in the events leading up to the shooting, could still land him in serious trouble. Federal prosecutors have long been investigating the circumstances surrounding King Von's death, which occurred in November 2022. At the time, the rapper was shot multiple times during a confrontation in Atlanta. His death sent shockwaves through the music industry and beyond. Now, with Lil Durk's confession, the case could take a dramatic turn. Legal experts suggest that
You could have a great lawyer. At one point, the lawyer's gonna say, "You really want to take it to trial?" You take it to trial, that's when things go really bad.
Durk cooperating, he gonna have to eat this one. Cause it's like, you can't just put all that on it and then, oh, I hate rats. I just watched that last night too. I hate rats, da da da. That rap shit over with. That shit you was talking about before, motherfucker can't believe it no more.
Lil Durk could face charges ranging from accessory after the fact to conspiracy to commit murder, depending on the evidence presented. If prosecutors can prove that he played a direct role in organizing or facilitating the event, the consequences could be severe. One defense attorney, speaking off the record, explained, "This isn't just about being there. It's about what you did while you were there. If Lil Durk was aware of the plan and didn't stop it, that could be considered complicity. And if he helped cover it up afterward, that could be obstruction of justice." For now, Lil Durk's team is working closely with his attorneys to assess the situation. They've requested additional time to review the case and determine the best course of action. Some insiders believe they're preparing for a plea deal, while others think a trial is inevitable. What's clear is that Lil Durk's career is hanging in the balance. Record labels, sponsors, and collaborators are already distancing themselves. Major brands are reviewing contracts, and some radio stations are pulling his music. Even fellow artists are staying silent, unsure of how to respond. But for Lil Durk, the stakes are higher than just his career. He's facing the possibility of prison time, and the emotional toll of living with the weight of his actions is undeniable. In a private message
was made before the murder happened. I don't personally believe it's possible for a lyric so obviously describing the circumstances of what exactly happened after the murder. To me, it just cannot be possible. I don't care that you've got a screenshot of, like, I just don't care that you've got a screenshot of some metadata a few months before to say, oh, well, a file was created before the murder happened, so it can't, like, bro, you could have jumped back in the studio and edited that bar to be like, yo, let me just throw an extra bar on this before we drop this song so I can really just, like, mock the victim of the murder. Like, can we just change that? Like, that just doesn't mean anything to me, right? So this is just like, I just wanted to give you that context and just explain to you that, like, Lil Durk is trying to get out based on this little finesse, and he's trying to put everything all on this, like, one fan-made version of the song where they took Quando Rondo's "No" and superimposed it onto the song of Lil Durk.
To a close confidant who said, "I'm ready to face whatever comes next. I don't regret telling the truth. I just hope people understand that I'm not the monster they think I am." His words show a man who knows the road ahead will be difficult, but also one who is prepared to walk it. Public reaction and fan behavior, outrage, support, and confusion. As soon as the video surfaced online, the internet exploded. Social media platforms lit up with reactions, memes, and debates. Fans, critics, and fellow artists took to Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok to share their thoughts. The divide was stark. On one side, there were those who were furious. Many called for Lil Durk to be arrested, removed from the industry, and held accountable for his actions. Memes mocked his name, and hashtags like "Justice for King Von" trended across the globe. Some fans even burned Lil Durk's merch in protest. A fan wrote, "You were supposed to protect your homie, not be part of the problem. You lost me today." Another posted, "This isn't drama. This is real life, real blood, real consequences." But on the other side, there were supporters who believed Lil Durk was doing the right thing by coming forward. They argued that he was finally taking responsibility for his actions and that he deserved.
Indictment says an associate of TB pulled out a gun and shot DB multiple times, killing him. Now, the indictment doesn't have the full names of TB or DB, but the circumstances match the November 6, 2020 shooting death of rapper King Von, whose real name is Davon Bennett. And of course, we know Quando Rondo's real name to be Taekwon Bowman. So where does Lil Durk come into play here? Well, federal prosecutors say after King Von's murder, Lil Durk wanted revenge. According to the indictment, Banks made clear in coded language that he would pay a bounty to
a chance to tell his side of the story. Another fan responded, "He didn't run away. He stood up and said it. That takes courage. Let him explain." Meanwhile, neutral observers tried to sift through the noise, asking questions like, was he forced to confess? Is this really the whole truth? What about the people who actually pulled the trigger? The confusion only deepened when Lil Durk's team released a statement saying, "We are cooperating with authorities and will address this matter in due time." That vague response only fueled more speculation. Were they trying to control the narrative? Were they hiding something? Even fellow rappers weighed in. Some remained silent, choosing not to comment until more information was available. Others expressed disappointment, but urged patience. A well-known artist said in an interview, "We all know how these things go. We need facts, not emotions. Until we see the full picture, we can't pass judgment." The public reaction highlights a deeper issue. In the age of instant news and viral moments, the line between truth and perception is increasingly blurred. And when someone as big as Lil Durk is involved, the pressure is immense. Conclusion and call to action. Lil Durk's courtroom breakdown has changed everything. The truth is out, and now the world must decide.
On August 18, 2022, OTF members, and this is according to the feds, this is not me talking, this is the actual paperwork you and I went through the fine-tooth comb. OTF members learned that Quando Rondo was staying in a hotel in LA from a longtime OTF affiliate, co-conspirator 4.
Yeah.
Okay. So, after they learned about this, the following men took a one-way flight from Chicago to San Diego. OTF Didi, OTF Boogie, Flocka, and Brown Eyes.
Decide what to do with it. Whether this is a moment of redemption, a tragic mistake, or something far more complex. One thing is certain, the hip-hop community will never look at this moment the same way again. If you want to stay ahead of every twist, every update, and every truth behind this viral madness, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. I'll be breaking down the latest developments, sharing exclusive insights, and keeping you updated on Lil Durk's next steps, the ongoing legal proceedings, and the deeper story that's only just beginning to unfold. The bond between Lil Durk and King Von was once unbreakable, until it wasn't. Two Chicago legends, one tragic end. To understand what led to the courtroom breakdown, we have to go back to where it all began, their rise, their music, and the slow-burning feud that changed everything, or the history between Lil Durk, King Von, and the Chicago rap scene. Lil Durk and King Von didn't just share a city, they shared a culture, a sound, and a dream. They were two of the most prominent voices in the Chicago drill scene, a genre born from the streets and fueled by raw emotion, real life, stories, and an unshakable sense of loyalty. For years, they stood side by side, building legacies that would influence an entire generation.
Alright, so it looks like we've got Lil Durk and his legal team trying their hardest to get Lil Durk out of jail. Yesterday, they filed a motion to dismiss the superseding indictment against Lil Durk because they believe that the prosecution team presented evidence to the grand jury that was not rooted in fact. Specifically, they are claiming that part of the evidence the prosecution team provided to the grand jury regarding a song that he did with Babyface Ray called Wonderful World and Jackie Boy, and the version of this song that they presented to the grand jury to get that superseding indictment had a clip of Quando Rondo yelling out no after his cousin Lul Pabb was shot in LA. They presented this to the grand jury as if Lil Durk had added that no scream to the record himself. Him and his legal team and the producer of this record and the owner of the studio that recorded this record are claiming that Lil Durk had no say.
Of rappers. Their friendship was built on mutual respect and admiration. Both artists came up during the same time, navigating the challenges of growing up in rough neighborhoods while finding success through music. They collaborated on tracks like Sosa, which became a massive hit and solidified their place at the top of the rap game. On stage, they looked like brothers, grinning, high-fiving, and sharing the spotlight as if no one else mattered. But behind the scenes, things weren't always so harmonious. Over time, subtle tensions began to surface. Their careers started to take different paths. Lil Durk expanded his reach beyond Chicago, becoming a global name with hits like No Heart and Love Songs. King Von, meanwhile, remained deeply rooted in the city's culture, using his music to tell stories about the streets he grew up on. While both were successful, their identities began to diverge. There were rumors of a falling out, whispers of jealousy, ego, clashes, and business disagreements. Some fans speculated that there was a deeper rift between them, though neither artist ever publicly addressed it. But in November 2022, those whispers turned into something far more dangerous. On the night of November 6, 2022, King Von was shot and killed in Atlanta during a confrontation outside a nightclub.
2015. Although he built his professional reputation and profile as a dedicated, hardworking, and deeply talented artist beginning around 2012 through mixtapes and public performances in and around Chicago. Since that initial album, Lil Durk has released a total of 8 studio albums, not including his mixtapes or collaborative projects that he has done with other artists. Lil Durk has been nominated for a Grammy on 4 separate occasions and winning one just last year. In keeping with the common industry practice, Lil Durk has been signed to music labels, currently Alamo Records, who have helped him facilitate his musical growth and have spearheaded the efforts surrounding the production, release, and distribution of his music. Also, in keeping with common industry practice, practice, hip-hop artists not only release their own music, but also frequently lend their musical talents to other artists on songs through features, which are often a verse or two contained within a song. The addition of a feature from a more popular artist can help boost the visibility and ultimate success of a song, especially for newer emerging talent. Relevant to the matter at hand, Lil Durk.
He was just 26 years old. The news sent shockwaves through the hip-hop world. Fans, friends, and fellow artists mourned the loss of one of the most promising talents in the game. In the weeks that followed, questions arose. Who was responsible for the shooting? What led to the altercation? And most importantly, what role did Lil Durk play? At first, there was no clear answer. Investigations dragged on, and speculation ran wild. Some believed Lil Durk had nothing to do with it. Others thought he was involved, but not the one who pulled the trigger. Then came the trial, and with it, the moment that would change everything. The emotional weight of the moment. Why did Lil Durk break down? Standing before the judge under oath, Lil Durk didn't just admit to being present during the incident. He broke down in front of everyone. Tears streamed down his face. His body shook and his voice cracked as he spoke. It was a moment of raw vulnerability. From a man who had spent years projecting strength, confidence, and street credibility. What does this say about him as a person, as an artist, for someone who built his brand around being tough, unapologetic, and in control? Breaking down in court is a huge shift. It suggests that the weight of what happened has finally caught up to him. It shows that beneath the bravado and the bravado.
So some fan incorporated the clip of Quando Rondo screaming at his friend's dead body over the music video. It wasn't through Durk's channel. The original authentic version of the song, Mr. Sharif confirms, does not contain these manipulated elements. He tests that creating altered audio edits is easy to do through social media platforms, and such practice often result in misinformation and misrepresentation of original pieces of music and art. Argument: she preceding indictment is not sustainable against Mr. Banks in the face of the fundamental factual error upon which the grand jury relied. That's crazy. If the grand jury actually was shown these
he's human, and now the world is seeing him in a way they never have before. In a later interview with a close friend who shared the conversation online, Lil Durk reflected on the emotional toll. I didn't cry because I'm guilty. I cried because I'm tired. I'm tired of carrying this. I'm tired of looking at my reflection and not recognizing myself. His words reveal a man who has been struggling with the burden of his past. He didn't just lose a friend, he lost a part of himself. And now, with the truth finally coming out, he's having to face it head on. But was this a moment of catharsis, or was it forced? Some believe that Lil Durk's confession was a strategic move, a way to gain favor with the court or secure a plea deal. Others think it was a genuine attempt to come clean and seek redemption. The truth may lie somewhere in between. Either way, the impact is undeniable. By showing vulnerability, Lil Durk has opened himself up to criticism, judgment, and even condemnation, but he's also shown a level of honesty that many in the industry rarely display. As he sat in the courtroom after the hearing, he told a reporter, "I don't expect anyone to forgive me. I just hope people can see that I'm trying to be honest, that I'm trying to be better." It's a powerful statement from a man who knows.
Vonnie and Didi. They then tell the other car, hey, they're here. They drive off.
Yeah.
The white Infiniti goes on a alleyway.
Okay.
And that's where the shooters are in.
Okay.
There's one driver, which I believe is Asa Houston, and then the other three, which is co-conspirator 2 and the other 2, hop out and then they shoot. So really, they were trying to be slick.
Knows the road ahead will be difficult, and yet the question remains, how will this affect his future? As a public figure, Lil Durk has always been seen as a symbol of strength. Now he's being seen as someone who made a mistake and is willing to own up to it. Whether that will help him rebuild his image or destroy it completely remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, this moment has changed everything. The bigger picture. What this means for hip-hop culture and accountability. Hip-hop has always walked a fine line between art and reality. Rappers tell stories, sometimes exaggerated, sometimes fictional. But when those stories involve real-life violence, the stakes become much higher. Lil Durk's confession forces us to ask a bigger question. Is the genre ready to hold its biggest stars accountable for their actions? For decades, hip-hop has celebrated authenticity, often blurring the lines between performance and truth. Artists talk about crime, conflict, and survival, but few are held responsible for the consequences of their real-world actions. Lil Durk's case changes that dynamic. It raises the question, can we still support the music if we know the artist was involved in a violent act? This isn't the first time hip-hop has faced a reckoning like this, from Tupac and Biggie to Notorious B.I.G.
I think that's also why you're important, your circle is important, because, like, you know, somebody can make a video on me, right, and I get pissed off. I could think some crazy shit in my head, but I don't have anybody around me that's gonna gas me up. So it's like, yeah, if you're bragging about you're around all these killers and then somebody dishes you, all these killers are gonna be like, man, what's up? I want a new Rolex, just give me a Rolex. I'll go knock them off. Just fly me over there. I'm gonna make it happen.
And Tupac, the genre has always had a complicated relationship with real-world violence. But in the digital age, where every action is documented and dissected, the pressure is greater than ever. Now, fans are left to decide, do they separate the artist from the crime, or do they demand accountability? Some argue that hip-hop should continue to celebrate the music regardless of the artist's past. After all, it's just one moment in a long career. Others believe that when real lives are affected, the responsibility lies with the artist to make amends. A well-known producer in the industry said in a recent interview, music is powerful, but when it's tied to real pain, you have to ask yourself, are we honoring the victim or just listening for the beat? That question is at the heart of this moment. Lil Durk's confession forces the industry and the fans to confront it. It also raises broader questions about accountability in the entertainment world. Can we continue to support artists who have been involved in serious crimes? Should their past define their future? And how do we balance the need for truth with the right to redemption? These are complex issues with no easy answers, but Lil Durk's story is a reminder that the lines between art and reality are getting thinner by the day. If anything, this moment could mark a turning point for
individuals or celebrities and rappers in essentially prosecuting them. We saw that in the Young Thug case. We see that in this case now. We see that in the Sean Diddy Combs case. So we're seeing this a lot more frequently as of lately.
Yeah, and reading through this federal indictment against Lil Durk, it seems like there's a lot of evidence stacked against him, from the text messages to the use of credit cards and other kind of trails of evidence. What do you make of that, given if you are going to orchestrate something terrible?
Hip-hop, a moment where the genre begins to hold its stars to a higher standard, not just for their music, but for their actions. As one fan put it on social media, we've always known hip-hop comes from the streets, but now we have to face the fact that not everything stays in the streets. Conclusion and call to action. Lil Durk's breakdown in court was more than just a legal admission. It was a moment of raw truth, deep emotion, and profound consequence. It revealed the fragility of a friendship that once seemed unbreakable, the complexity of a culture that celebrates strength but struggles with accountability, and the heavy cost of fame when it collides with real-world violence. This is a story that goes far beyond two artists. It's about loyalty, regret, and the power of truth. It's about a genre that has always danced between fiction and reality, and now finds itself standing at a crossroads. If you want to stay ahead of every twist, every update, and every truth behind this viral madness, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. I'll be breaking down the latest developments, sharing exclusive insights, and keeping you updated on Lil Durk's next steps, the ongoing legal proceedings, and the deeper story that's only just beginning to unfold.